Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Ohio Guys here on location at National Harbor, Maryland at Katsucon, and I'm here with none other than Monica Rial.
Hello.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a busy day, man. There's a lot of people here.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's been quite a while since I've gone to a really big con.
Yeah.
And
It's intense.
oh yeah, but it's a lot of fun though,
Yes,
and
definitely.
definitely never get bored.
No.
And also, what was it like performing on air?
Air was a great show. It was one of those shows that when we had auditions, Kyle Jones, the director, was very specific because Misuzu is one of those characters that people could have played really airheaded and ditzy. He's like, I don't want her to seem like there's something wrong with her or like, she's stupid, because she's not. No. She's just a little behind her age group or behind the times. So when I read it for it, he's like, you captured that essence. You captured that innocence, that immaturity, but not stupidity. Like I didn't feel like she was an annoying little girl I wanted to kick away. Like I really cared about her. So that was really awesome. It's one of those shows that even to this day, like I'll see these big burly dudes and they'll be like, Monica, let me show you something. I'm like, oh, okay. And they'll pull up their arm and it'll be like a giant Misuzu tattoo with the little bird. I'm like, so even like the biggest, hunkiest, like gnarliest guys are like, air. It's a good show. I really love it.
It just proves that you just can't judge a person by its cover.
Yeah, you never know. And she's such a traumatic and tortured character, but she stays so positive all the time. And I try to take a little bit of that with me everywhere I go and keep that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also, what was it like working on Super Milk Chan?
Oh gosh, so Super Milk Chan way back in the day. Oh my gosh, we actually did 2 dubs of Super Milk Chan. There was what we called straight adaptation, so it was basically just the translation. Which, if you know anything about Super Milk, it was really hard to do that because it was such a very specific. The humor was surrounded about Japan and specifically politics in that time period. So it was a lot of specific jokes about politicians and musicians and things like that in Japan at that very time. Yeah. And back then it took us a lot longer to get around to acquiring shows and dubbing shows. So by the time we got it and they translated it, even with all their notes and everything, we're like, we don't know who any of these people are, but okay. So what Steven did is he's like, well, I want to make one that's funny, but then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this other one that's straight. So because we had done ghost stories and everybody was like, ugh. So he's like, I'm going to make everybody happy, but because I'm going to do this one dub that's straight translation. And so I played Tetsuko, in so many characters, in the straight translation one, who was played by Mercy Banner in the more funny one. So we also did like live action cuts, if you ever see any of those old ADV DVDs, like we did live action stuff. But what's funny is with these 2 options, was it Toonami or MTV? One of those stations picked it up and played the straight translation. Which I was like, if you're going to pick one of them, why wouldn't you pick the funny one?
I think Sci-Fi did anime hosting back then too.
Oh, really? Yeah. It was all over the place, and I know people still bring it to me to sign, but I'm like, have you guys seen the funny version? Because it's so much better.
Exactly. So
yeah, I loved working on the show, but I always feel bad because I'm like, my Tetsuko is nothing compared to Marcy Banner's Tetsuko. Hers is amazing. But unfortunately, I'm the one that got all of the acclaim, if you will, because it was my voice on television. But it was a fun show to work on, definitely.
And also, what was it like voicing Konica and Nagamma?
Oh, Konica was fun. I think what was most fun about Nagamma is that when we first started, this was a while back, of course, at Funimation, and the Japanese were like, we want, how many are there? 32 girls? We want 32 different girls. And Funimation's like, we don't have 32 different girls. Yeah. So what we had to do is those of us who could double up, and we thought maybe we can trick the Japanese if we do this, if we do this name, have her do a different name or have her do a different name. So it was me and Laura and a couple others that doubled and tripled up. So I played Konica, and then she's like, okay, can you do a voice that's totally different? So I did Kazumi, and I think her name was Rosa Eastwood or something really ridiculous. And then I played Satsuki as well, and she had a different name, and then they sent it to Japan, and Japan watched it and went, okay. So we were like, is that awful that we tricked the Japanese into thinking we were 32 different people? I guess that is kind of awful, but that's what we had to do because we just didn't have the people.
Yeah, because at the same time, that's when Funimation was really starting to heat up.
Right, really just starting out. So we had like maybe 15 girls.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun, especially because I had whole scenes where Konica and Kazumi would like talk to each other.
Yeah.
And that was always really interesting because I'm like, I guess I'll go through and do all one character and then do the other character and not go back and forth because that'd be weird.
Yeah, in a way, it's just like monologuing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Only in two totally different voices.
It'd be actually quite interesting, really.
Yeah, it was fun. It was totally fun.
And also, what was it like performing on Yumeira?
Oh gosh, that was such a long time ago. Mitsuki, pink hair. Yeah. It's funny. It's almost like a test. Anytime somebody mentions a show from way back when, I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yep, big old pink bow.
Yeah. It was super, super cute. I really enjoyed that show. I loved Brittany's character. I can't remember her name. Monet, yes, with just the Monet. I thought it was so much fun. And it was one of those kind of video gamey animes that you didn't see a lot at the time. Now you see them all the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. My character was fun, and tormenting people is always fun. So. She was a sweetheart, though. She wasn't much of a tormentor.
Oh, nah. And what was it like working on Kekko Kamen?
Oh gosh, Kekko Kamen. Kekko Kamen was interesting. I got tortured a lot. Kekko Kamen was awesome because back then we didn't really have a lot of the weird ecchi anime. I mean, I'm sure it was there, but it wasn't dubbed as much. Yeah. So when Matt Greenfield came to me and was like, okay, so I want you to be in the show, and it's about a superhero. And I'm like, sweet. And he's like, it's a female superhero. I'm like, that's even more bad. Like, even more better. That's even better. I'm a writer. And then he was like, okay, but here's the thing. She doesn't wear any clothes. And she wears it. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't care. And he's like, and then you're going to be basically tormented the whole time. Okay, so, well, it wasn't so bad because all I had to do was moan most of the time, and that's pretty easy. Like, yeah, I'll do it. But it's so funny because back then we were like, this show is so scandalous, and now we're like, that show was nothing compared to some of the shows today.
Oh my goodness, yes. And it's like, sometimes you wonder, it's like, okay, Japan?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Valkyrie Drive Mermaid, which has no mermaids in it, by the way. I was very disappointed. I was like, I get to be a mermaid. Oh, I'm not a mermaid. That one, there was a few times that I was like, oh, I'm red in the face. I don't know. Okay, I can do it. I'm a professional. But there was a few times I was like, are they? Oh, they animated that. Okay, let's voice it.
All right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What was it like performing on the Fullmetal Alchemist series?
Oh, Alchemist was great. Way back in the day, working on the first one, it was really, really cool because I wasn't sure if I was going to get to be in it because I lived in Houston at the time. And Mike McFarlane was like, hey, I have this character, and I think she comes back. And I was like, okay, sweet. So I played Lyra, and I thought she was a really cool character in, like, episode 9. I was like, sweet. And then fast forward, and he's like, okay, she came back. And she came back in a big, bad way. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when Lyra and Dante were together. And it was one of my first times doing the lower voice at Funimation. They were all like, oh, we didn't know you could do that. I'm like, because all you let me do is play little girls, which is fine. But I got to do that, and that was awesome. I remember her theme music still. Anytime I hear it, I'm like, I stand taller, and it's like, I take on a different pose. So that was super fun, and, I always hoped that people would bring me their babies so I could throw them in the air and clap, but nobody ever did that. I was like, dang, I really want to throw babies in the air. But then fast forward to Brotherhood, and I was like, well, surely I'm not going to get to be in it because, having played Lyra Dante, I'm sure I'm not going to get to be in Brotherhood. And then Mike called me in, and I was like, I get to be in the show? And he goes, yeah, and you get to be that little girl. And she popped up with her braids, and I was like, I love her, and she's got a panda. And he's like, yeah. So that was Mei Chang, and I had such a blast. And so it's hard. People ask me, like, which one do you like better? And I was like, I don't know, because in the one, I was like the main villain, and that was super, super cool. But then Mei Chang is so cute, and she's got a panda. So I loved working on it.
Yeah, another interesting show that's fun for everybody, for all audiences, was like working on Hello Kitty's animation theater.
Hello Kitty. Hello Kitty was awesome. I was worried I wasn't going to get to audition for it because I was so busy at that time period. And Matt Greenfield and David and some of the directors at ADV gave me a really hard time about it. But when I auditioned, I didn't realize that they sent all those auditions over to Japan, and Sanrio actually cast us. So it was one thing to be cast as Hello Kitty, but another thing for Sanrio to cast you as Hello Kitty. I'm like, I am legit. I am the kitty. And I worked, my first job ever was in a Sanrio store.
Yeah.
So I've been a huge Sanrio fan my whole life. So I had maybe just a little bit of a fangirl fit. And then I had to stop because Tiffany Grant was really upset because she wanted to be the kitty. She didn't get to be the kitty, but she got to be Pachaco and a whole bunch of others. But it was so much fun to get to visit that, and having been a fan of Hello Kitty for so long, and get to actually voice Hello. I mean, like, that's just freaking ridiculously iconic and crazy.
Yeah.
And then for like 6 or 7 years after that, anytime I had a birthday or a holiday or whatever, I got just inundated with Hello Kitty stuff. And I was like, okay, guys, I am a grown woman. We should probably calm down on the Hello Kitty toasters and stuff. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And
Yeah.
I hope someday that we get to do another one. I mean, Show by Rock, of course, was by Sanrio, so I kind of felt like, oh, kind of came home. But I would love to do another Hello Kitty show.
Oh yeah, and another fun show that was fun watching was Papua.
Oh,
Was that, like, working
Papua!
on?
I loved Papua. I'm so sad that Papua is one of the ADV shows that seems to have kind of like disappeared in the ether.
I say it flown under the radar.
Right. I really wish somebody would pick up that license because I'm sure it's not expensive. And it's such a fun show. And I talk about it all the time. I mean, like, you have a little guy in a grass skirt, and all he does is walk around going, which is awesome. And then all the crazy fish and the dudes, and it's just such a ridiculous show. And it's some of Kyle Jones' best work, just because he was able to do whatever he wanted with it. And unfortunately, it's so hard to find it anywhere. But I talk about it all the time. I'm like, that show is hilarious. You just have to, like, dig forever to find it, unfortunately.
Yep. And also, what was it like working on Saga of Tanya the Evil?
It's so much fun. Oh my gosh, you guys, the show. So, if you have not seen the Saga of Tanya the Evil, it is a show that is based on a series of, they call light novels, but I've seen the novels, and they're like this thick, and there aren't a lot of pictures, so I would just call them novels. Let's skip the light. But it's a really cool show and a really cool premise. So you have a young girl who's the head of a company in the military, and she's an aerial mage.
Okay.
So it's kind of like around the World War I era. And everything kind of mirrors history pretty exactly. They call the countries different things, but they're using our maps and stuff like that. But I can't tell you too much, but I will say you have to see episode 2, because episode 2 makes the whole thing make sense, and I've got goosebumps right now just talking about it. It is such a good show, and I really look forward to see what they do with it. It's also very rare for an anime to be, so there's moments of humor and there's moments of action, but so much of it is just two people talking. Like, they're literally just talking to one another, either about military strategy or about relations or whatever it may be. She's evil. She is so evil, and it is so much fun. I get giddy in the booth sometimes because I will do a read for a line, and the director, Jeremy Inman, will be like, oh, you're awful. And I'm like, I know, I love it. He texted me earlier. He was like, I was just doing a pass on episode 5. He's like, you're so stupid good in this show. I'm like, thank you for casting me. So I'm having a blast working on that one. This broadcast season's been really busy. That's the other thing is with Tanya, is that, like, most of the time when you play like a titular character like that, then all of their friends come in, and about halfway through you're not as heavily involved because, you know, anime casts are usually pretty large. But with Tanya, it's like I've got a good 8 hours every week that I'm out there just for that show.
Oh my goodness.
But it's a fun show. I really, really love it a lot. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, and for our new subscribers tuning in, do you have any Facebook or Twitter that they can get a hold of you?
Yes, my group is on Facebook. It's called The Realists. Fans of Monica Rial. They've got 3,000 members or so. It's really well moderated. Everybody's super cool.
Yeah,
We talk about.
Yeah, Taj runs it.
Yeah, it's super great. We talk about stuff other than anime. It's not, anime, but not all me. It's not all me all the time. But we have a lot of fun contests and stuff. The guys are really great about that. On Twitter, I am at Rial. Rialisms, Rialisms, and I do answer, unless you ask me something really stupid. There usually are no stupid questions, but I thought until I joined Twitter. So now sometimes I avoid some. I'm like, I'm not going to touch that. And I've found that since I've been verified, sometimes stuff gets lost. So if I don't answer you, it's probably nothing personal. Try me again. And if I don't answer you after like the 5th time, then maybe you want to not ask that question. And then on Instagram too, I'm at Realisms as well. And those are the best places to find me.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for tuning into the Ohio Guys. See you next time, everybody.